We officially have a losing streak on our hands. Fourth straight loss for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and it's pretty clear they need to make a move at today's deadline. You're listening to Locked on Lightning.
You're Locked on Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Friday, and more importantly, happy trade deadline day. And welcome to Locked on Lightning. We are part of the Locked on Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. We want to start, as we do always, with a shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day every single day. On today's show, another loss for the Bolts. 4-1 loss to the Winnipeg Jets last night. The Lightning just never really looked in it, did they? That means their losing streak is now at 4. What is going on for the Bolts? And it's urgency at the deadline. That's not the name of a 2000s pop punk band. It's what the Lightning need to go into today's trade deadline with. Some urgency. So who are some big names? And we'll tell you why they need to make a move today. A lot to get to. I'm Nick Morgan, your host for Locked on Lightning, and I am joined by my partner in crime, Greg Steven. And Greg, 4 straight losses. What's going on here, man?
Good morning. It's happy Friday, at least. I mean, that's a positive.
Yeah, sure.
4 straight losses. Oof. Makes me feel sick, man, because we're coming down to the wire, and these points, they all matter. And I really expected this to be the bounce back game. This is the one, I think, on the calendar that you kind of look at and say, maybe I should win this game. And you know, it might start a little momentum, but unfortunately went the complete opposite. Maybe the only positive takeaway I have is that I called the Brayden Point goal.
Well, we also hit the under.
Oh, true. We did hit the under. Or hey, you hit the under, right?
There's good news, Lightning fans. We finally hit the under. Not good at all. 4-1 loss to the Winnipeg Jets. The losing streak now hits 4. It was a game in which I don't know, Greg. It was a game in which I think the Lightning just looked a little bit off from start to finish, as opposed to, like, let's say the Minnesota game, where you could really tell the Lightning were pushing. You could really tell they were trying to play sharp, and they just had those pockets of mistakes. In this one, I think the opposite happened. It was just the Lightning looked a little bit out of it, and then you just kind of had some little patches of really solid play at the end when they were starting to push on Hellebuyck.
Yeah, and, you know, I think defensively they looked terrible, to be honest with you. Like, I'll be real with you, like, Darren Radish had a great assist on that power play goal. Defensively, he was terrible. He was awful. Like, there were many times where I was kind of like, whoa.
And most of the game with JJ Moser. That was one of the things that we talked about going into the game, was we want to see those two together.
Yeah, and it just did not look good. I mean, they struggled, man. They did. And Carlisle had a blown 2-on-1 that he easily should have taken the goal scorer out of the play, but instead he was kind of puck watching and trying to split the D. But all he had to do was take the wide open guy and let Vasi have the outside shot. But nope. So again, just defensively it was not good. Not good at all, honestly.
Yeah, for sure. Greg, let's start, as we do, with our one word to describe the game. Give me one word for last night's loss.
Honestly, I'm gonna go with depressing. I think once you hit 4 straight losses, it's like, what's something's going on here, and it was sad to watch this team. I mean, defensively, they've been pretty good this season, right? And then you watch the defense, the way they played last night, very poor. And then you go and you look at your defensive forwards, Hagel and Cirelli, -3, -2, respectively. Not good defensively for them either. Even the top line, just all negative, just not good. Brayden Point, -3.
Yeah.
Ugh. I mean, with a goal. Oh, well, it was the power play goal, but still, I mean, I don't know. It's depressing. I think that's what it is because you get the taste of the 20 games that you win almost in a row, and then you come back from break and you're kind of like, all right, let's get this, let's keep this rolling. This looks like a cup team.
Yeah.
And now we're here, and it's like, oh no.
It seems like a lost memory now. Like the play before the Olympic break. That's
Yeah,
such a long time ago at this point.
it feels like it.
Greg, my one word to describe last night's game is anemic.
Mm.
And it just seems like there's, if the Lightning were a human body, there's some deficiency there. There's something missing. There's something just like a little bit off. I watched the Lightning last night and they looked a half step slow. They looked like they weren't playing with any urgency. They didn't, obviously like some of the mistakes and blown coverages and stuff were back, but it just, their focus looked off. Their speed looked off. The chemistry just isn't there right now across any of the lines or any of the defensive pairs. The only really bright spot last night was that I thought Andrei Vasilevskiy did a good job keeping them in this game. And lucky for him, Winnipeg also, quite frankly, didn't look that great as a team either. It's just, to me, a little bit jarring that you had 3 straight losses going into this game. This was kind of one of the easier games left on your remaining schedule. I don't know if you've seen the NHL standings, but you have the Buffalo Sabres now tied with you on top of the division. It seems like if you're the Lightning, you would want to do more to come out, jump out of the gate, and turn things around. And it's not there right now. Nothing is there right now for the Lightning. There's no urgency. There's no, I think it just didn't seem like there's intensity to try and turn this play around until 5 minutes left in the game where they finally turned a switch. I mean, I'd say Winnipeg thoroughly outplayed the Lightning for most of this game. And that's surprising because, God, this is the Tampa Bay Lightning we're talking about. This is the team that we've seen just dominate anybody you throw in front of them from December to basically the start of the Olympic break. And I refuse to believe that it's just as a team collectively, they all came back from the Olympic break and said, okay, we're not going to have chemistry anymore. It's just, I don't know what's going on right now. I don't know if it's just, the fact that there's so many injuries and there's new guys in the lineup. I don't know what it is, but this isn't the same Lightning team that we watched just a few, weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. And I'm just going to say it again because I just enjoy being right about stuff. The Olympic break came at a terrible time. I mean, like, without that Olympic break, I think you see a different team right now. I'm being real with you. I think it's just the fact at this point. There's no way after how hot they were, they just lose 4 in a row like that if you don't take that break. And I really think it got them, man. I do. I think it's one of the worst things that happened to them this season outside of all these injuries they keep piling up. But like you said, Buffalo is creeping. And look at the next 5 games in the next week. You got Toronto, who struggling, so maybe that's the easy game. But then you have Buffalo again.
Yeah, don't call any game an easy game at this point.
I'm not. I'm just saying of the 5 coming up, you have Buffalo, who is surging on Sunday, and that's on a back-to-back after you play Toronto, both away. And then you play the Jackets, who've also been really good lately. Yeah. And then you roll right into Detroit and Carolina. So you better figure it out soon because this could flip real quick, Yeah.
This has the potential to get out of hand pretty fast if the Lightning don't strike out. So I'll ask again, Greg, after the break, I'm going to ask you the same question that I kind of asked yesterday. I'm not going to call it the panic meter. I'm going to call it the urgency meter. Okay. Where is it at you for this point? Answer me that. And let's talk about more takeaways from this game yesterday when we come back on Locked on Lightning. Today's episode is brought to you by Factor. We are finally out of winter, and that means it's time to start working on that summer body. But when you don't have a lot of time to cook, eating well can feel like another thing on the to-do list. Well, that's where Factor comes in. Factor makes healthy eating easy with fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs so you can eat well without the planning, prepping, or cooking. These aren't TV dinners. Factor meals are always fresh, never frozen, and ready in about 2 minutes. They're made with great ingredients like lean proteins, colorful veggies, whole foods, and healthy fats, zero refined sugars, zero artificial sweeteners, and no refined seed oils. The thing I love about Factor is they have a variety of different meals to match your eating goals. If you're high protein, they got a meal plan for that. If you're calorie smart, meal plan for that. They got meal plans for Mediterranean diet, GLP-1 support, even a new Muscle Pro connection designed for strength and recovery. It's all part of their 100 rotating meals each week, so eating never gets boring. It's perfect for busy weeks when you still want meals that support your goals without the stress of cooking. If you want to try it, go to factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL50 off and use code LockedOnNHL50 off to get 50% off and free breakfast for a year. So eat like a pro this month for Factor. New subscribers only, varies by plan, one free breakfast item per box for a year while subscription is active. If you want to hit your eating goals, try Factor. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. The calendar says March, which means, college basketball is nonstop right now. We're talking big games, tight spreads, and momentum swings every single trip up and down the court. From those early tip-offs to late night West Coast shootouts, mostly that involve Gonzaga or St. Mary's, there's always action on the board. And now FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with a college basketball parlay profit boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want. You can do a rivalry game. You can do a ranked matchup. You can be a just off the board tournament game. Hey, Maction, who doesn't love the Northeastern Conference? Why not? Mix it up a little bit. You can mix spreads, totals, and player props to match how you see the slate playing out, and then apply the profit boost and instantly bump up your potential payout. Go safe, go bold, ride with the team you've been following all season long. It's your parlay, your style, but now with some more upside behind it. So go to FanDuel.com to get started and win some cash this month. Again, that's FanDuel.com. You can also download the FanDuel app straight to your phone. FanDuel, play your game. We're back on Locked On Lightning. Nick Morgan here alongside Greg Stephen, and it is officially trade deadline day. And right now, if you join our Everydayer Club for ad-free audio, access to our group chat on Discord, and more, you can use code DEADLINE ahead of today's trade deadline for 1 month free. All you need to do is go to lockedonpodcast.com to get started. You can also click the link in our show notes to sign up as well. All right, Greg, I kind of teased this question before the break. 4 straight losses to the Tampa Bay Lightning. We talked about how they didn't particularly look good last night. And that, as you mentioned, the schedule is ramping up a little bit in the next couple of weeks. So I'm just going to ask you, I'm not going to call it the panic meter. I'm going to call it the urgency meter. I'm going to pass the mic and have you turn it on for you. And there we go. I caught it. I'm going to pass the mic to you and have you tell me what your urgency meter is at right now.
All right. If you said the panic meter, I would take this a little lighter, but urgency meter?
That's why I changed it.
Urgency meter, 100%. I think it's at max. I think you have to turn this around. There's no waiting anymore. Like, I'm not going to say that, like, let's not pretend it's not like they're not trying. They're obviously trying, but whatever is going on, it needs to be solved, like, today. And look, maybe adding a player gives you a little bit of a resurgence, and maybe you just use the deadline you have today. And I'm not saying I don't think they weren't already planning to do that, but sometimes a little bit of an addition or a subtraction or both can, breathe some life into a team. And now I'm really looking at the deadline today, because it's not even like I'm saying I want the team to be better because we need another guy. I think it will help, but I think it's more that I think a change maybe will help, or like a new face will maybe help. But other than that, what do you do? I mean, it's difficult to watch, because you had said this, you used this description about the last night's game, and I would argue it's true of these past 4 games. They've just looked a step behind, and they've looked slower. They've looked not like the Lightning we saw before the break, in a way where they just look like they're just slower. I don't even know how else to describe it. They just look behind. Like you said, one step behind. I think the Jets looked like they were all over them, and I know the shots were pretty close in 1 or 2 of those periods, but it didn't matter. I mean, the Jets still looked dominant in this game to me. And
I agree.
I think, you got to figure out what that is. And I don't know if it's you got to take the day off from skating today, no practice, or maybe you need a practice. I don't know what it is, but something's got to give soon, because like we said, the schedule, it's hard, and they're playing every other day this entire month, except for 1 weekend, I think. So you got a busy day, and to be starting it off 0-4, it ain't the way.
No. And that's why I'm kind of going high on the urgency meter. Like if it was out of 10, it would be an 8.5. And I think there's a lot of other factors to this too. Like obviously you want the play to be better. You got to figure it out. But look at all the other teams that are sort of breathing down your neck in the division. Buffalo they're coming hot. Yeah. They're coming really hot right now. The Red Wings are right there. You've even had the Boston Bruins who are starting to pick things up a little bit. And it's suddenly, we were talking about the Lightning maybe being one of the best teams of the East. They're now in danger of maybe not even being one of the best teams in the division, or the best team in the division, I should say. And look, that's why I use urgency meter and not panic meter, because obviously, look, a 4-game losing streak, you're the Tampa Bay Lightning, you're in, a playoff spot right now. You're not panicking by any means. Yeah. Like there's no panic meter here. Like teams go through slumps.
Yeah, of course.
That's just a thing of hockey.
Yeah, but think about the beginning of the season.
Yeah, but I do think the pressure is ramping on to fix this sooner rather than later. And I'm with you. I don't know what the answer is, because if you told me after Minnesota, what was going to happen, and, I said, like, you know what, I think I thought they actually played very well. They just need to clean up these mistakes. And now after this Winnipeg game, where it just seems like they took a big step back in terms of quality of play, also still with some mistakes mixed in, it's kind of like at this point, it's like, I don't know. They're kind of going a little bit backwards here. So that's, I think, concerning to me. And I'm with you. Like, I don't know what you do to snap out of it. I don't know if you do more ice time or more practice. I don't know if you shuffle the deck and try to get some more players out there on different combinations. I don't know if you stick with your guns and try to see if they can revamp some of the chemistry they had earlier this season. The world is kind of John Cooper's oyster at the moment.
Yeah, and like you said, you're not slamming the panic meter, because, I mean, you lost 4 games. It sucks, and you got to break it. But with the Tampa Bay Lightning, they're in a playoff spot. Every team slumps. We saw the beginning of the season for this team, and they were horrendous. And then all of a sudden, they became the best, right? So It's not something you can't change. But I think what you really got to do is you got to look at these last 4 games and say, wipe them out of there, and just look at this next game against the Leafs and say, let's win this game. And with that, things will fall into place. And I think you just got to forget about it right now. Just don't let it get you down, and just go out there and beat the Leafs and beat them on their ice and try and carry that momentum, for this whole next month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Greg, one other takeaway, and I kind of want your take on it, is that during this 4-game slump, one of the biggest things to me is that the big guns have just looked off. And we said it as a key to the game yesterday. When players get injured, you rely on your big players to sort of take the helm a little bit and switch into that game-changing mentality. And that hasn't happened. And I thought you saw it again yesterday. I thought Kuch was not necessarily playing his best. And that's become a little bit of a theme because I don't think he's played all that great after this Olympic break, even though he does have a couple of points. I thought, as you mentioned, Darren Radish got an assist last night, but other than that, made some bad defensive mistakes. Even, somebody like Brandon Hagel, if you go back and watch, I think that second goal, Brandon Hagel's your spark plug, the guy that always hustles, the guy that's in it, really, really slow. And he was out of the play, so it didn't impact anything, but you watch him and it's just like he's like kind of drifting back in the defensive zone. And Anthony Cirelli has not looked great since he came back from injury. I don't know, Greg. Like, it's just I kind of expect more from the Lightning's big guns to carry the load during the slump. And on the contrary, it seems like they're just dropping the ball a little bit here.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not going to sit here and say any of these goals are on Vasi either, but he got beat high glove side 2 or 3 times in this game.
Yeah, but I'm also going to defend Vasi a little bit.
Yeah, no.
I actually think he played a really good game yesterday.
No, I do too. And all these goals, he was hung out to dry. Let's be real here. So it's again, I'm not blaming him, but that's just an area as a goalie you don't want to get beat more than one time in a game generally because it's considered one of the easier stops, and he is Andrei Vasilevskiy. So to watch him get beat glove side high like multiple times, I was kind of like, oh no, because that's just a confidence killer, So it's just sad. I wish even if the big guys don't come out and drop 2-3 points like Kuch, at least play defense. This
or
could have
hustle.
Right. This easily could have been
heart. Show some hustle, energy. Like, get people going here.
Right. You erase a couple of these mistakes, and this game's 2-1. So obviously you want to score goals, but it could have been a closer game. At worst, I don't know. It's depressing. My word of the day, depressing.
Yeah, there you go. And anemic for my word of the day.
Yeah.
Either way, we got our bases covered.
Yeah.
All right, so that takes us to this afternoon, which is the NHL trade deadline. And again, for weeks, we've been saying, I don't know, I feel confident that the Lightning don't necessarily have to make a move. Greg, I think I'm ready to back off that statement and say the Lightning 100% need to make a move today. Well, let's talk about that when we come back on Locked on Lightning. Today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. Hey, is your workplace in chaos right now? Maybe your deadlines are stacking up, your inbox is overflowing, you have a big to-do list. Maybe you don't feel like going through a bunch of resumes right now and spending time sitting down and interviewing quality candidates. So that's why you need Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for in terms of skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. Here's the stat that says it all. In the minute that I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. You spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with less stress, less time, and more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this isn't a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Here's another perk. Listeners of Locked on Lightning get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Again, just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on Locked on Lightning. Again, that's Indeed.com/podcast. If you need to hire, it's a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. We're back on Locked On Lightning. Nick Morgan here alongside Greg Steven. And Greg, happy trade deadline day, my friend.
Yeah, always a little fun day for NHL fans.
I always remember in college being sick on trade deadline day and curling up in my dorm room with like the illegal feed of like TSN Trade Center.
Yeah,
which I think might have been, which could have been on Sportsnet. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but I just remember like spending all day curled up watching the trades roll in. It was like a little bit of a holiday tour to me. It was cool just seeing, and that was back when star players were getting traded at the deadline left and right. So those were the good days.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to do that today either way. Don't tell my boss, but I'm not getting a lot of work done today.
Yeah, hopefully they don't know that you have a podcast and they're listening in.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. But let's talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning today, Greg, because for weeks and weeks and weeks when we've been talking about the Lightning trade deadline, you and I have both said it's like it'd be nice if they made a move, but we're fine with this roster the way it is. They don't need to make a move. I'm ready to back off of that. And it's not just because there's, a bevy of injuries right now and there's some noticeable holes in the lineup, but it's also, I think that you look at some of the other teams coming in the division, and I think the Lightning just need to be more aggressive at shoring up some of that depth. And I think that's a big, hole for the Lightning right now is a lot of the depth is gone. And it just doesn't seem like there's a lot of players able to kind of step in and take some key minutes away.
Yeah, and look, for those watching right now, I know this is going to get posted a little later than when we're filming, but, the Sabres made a ton of moves last night. And a lot of these teams are ramping up, and they're stacking up their lines, and these teams are hot. The Sabres are on fire, and they are bolstering their squad, and they just rolled you last week. So I think you look at these other teams. I think you asked this question a couple of days ago to me, and you said, you're looking at these teams making moves. Does it make you feel like you need to make a move? And I think right now, yeah, absolutely. I think you want to go out there and pick someone up. And I've been looking at some guys, to be honest with you. So I have a few names, and hopefully the names I'm talking about aren't going to be gone by the time, this episode airs.
Is Blake Coleman on the list?
Of course he's on the list. I think
yes.
He's absolutely on the list.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. I keep teeter-tottering with forward and defense right now. And I'm trying to keep money in mind as well. But I'm kind of looking at Trocheck right now from the Rangers. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how you get that done, because I'm sure the Rangers are going to request something major for that trade, but I don't know. He's a great player, and he's only a little over $5 million a year right now, and that seems pretty reasonable because he's solid, man. I mean, he's been having a great season, and now that he lost Panarin, he needs to move. And I'm sure they want to move him. Another guy in my sights right now is like, what if we shift to defense here? I mean, other than I'll go to Blake Coleman real quick. He's just under $5 million for 4.9 average, and obviously won multiple cups with the Lightning and would probably thrive in Tampa. So I think he's number one on my list right now because, it just seems like an easy ad. And, financially it works out pretty well as well, right? Mm-hmm. But now I shift to defense, and there's actually a couple of right shots that are kind of able to be picked up right now. I mean, like Justin Faulk on the St. Louis Blues, $6.5 million. He's a veteran. He would eat some minutes for you on the defense, and he's the right shot guy we've kind of beat to death that we look for. And then, you shift down. What about Ristolainen? He only wants $5 million. He's a right shot guy. He's huge. And I think he might thrive with the talent that the Lightning have. I mean, we've seen him show flashes of high skill, so he might blend well with the team. So those are the guys on my list right now.
Yeah, it's and I think the thing with Faulk and Ristolainen are they have 1 year left on their contract.
They do.
And so it would be a little bit more than just getting a rental, but at the same time, it's something that's not going to ruin, I think, the Lightning's cap prospects long term. That is kind of going to be the interesting storyline for me, is if they do go a move, do they go rental? Like somebody that's, going to be around for, the rest of the season or maybe next season? Or do they try to get a little bit spicy and maybe make an addition that's longer term? You mentioned Vincent Trocheck. He's got time left on his contract.
He does.
Or are you bringing in Justin Faulk with the intention of maybe keeping him beyond next year and signing for a long-term deal? And I will say, Greg, when Elliot Friedman was kind of talking about his updates yesterday in terms of like players he was hearing, he did throw in, he said, one name to keep an eye on is Oliver Bjorkstrand. And the name, and for Bjorkstrand, that was the name that we always threw out, where it's like, if the Lightning make a bigger move, Bjorkstrand's got to be traded because of the cap situation for the rest of this year. So that does make me think that they could be open to making more of a bigger splash than we would have thought a couple of weeks ago. And if they do that, then all of a sudden, I feel like your options open up a little bit and you can really go anywhere on the board. I think like you could go, take a stab at a defenseman that's going to maybe be here for a few years in prime years. You could, try to, shore up your top six a little bit and try to take a swing for somebody who's going to sort of complement, either that first line with Brayden Point and Nikita Kucherov, or maybe just add like some middle six depth, with somebody who can kind of play anywhere. So the options, I think, if Bjorkstrand's really on the market, I think there's going to be a chance for some more options here.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more. And that's why I have Ristolainen on there, because he is younger than Faulk, and I would argue he's probably more offensively gifted. You don't think so?
There's a lot of people in Buffalo and Philadelphia that would be off the Ristolainen train, but
let's not pretend the Flyers are good, though. I mean, they've been average, but put him on a team with Kucherov. Let's see what happens. I don't know. I just think what's around you and the position of your team influences your production a fair amount. So I don't know. I don't want to discredit him too much, but I do think it's the age is the part of it, and the size. The age and the size are appealing to me, and he's right shot. So those three qualities I think are worth it. And he's only $5 million. So, I think you can get that done with Bjorkstrand. And also, I think if you're coughing up Bjorkstrand, it means if you're going for a bigger trade like you were talking about, I think, you're probably willing to part with something else that's kind of minor to package it if you need to, and that frees up more money too. And I don't know what that is. I hope it's Lilleberg, but you combine those two, you can probably make a bigger splash if you really want to.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. They have some options across the board, no matter what they decide to do. So it's going to be interesting to see what they see. I think it's a 3:00 p.m. Eastern deadline for the NHL today. And of course, it'll be like 5-6 o'clock when we hear some of these trades announced, just because of how long it takes to have the trade calls and everything like that. But it's going to be interesting. I do, if you're holding a gun to my head and asking me a prediction, I do think the Lightning are going to be players in this in somewhat. A few weeks ago, I would have said maybe not, but today, and I think the way the past couple of games are going, I do think there's some urgency to get a deal done today. So we'll be watching on Monday. We'll, of course, be back to break down whatever happens or doesn't happen, because if that's a possibility, that's certainly worth talking about too on Monday's show. And, of course, also big two games this weekend, one against the Toronto Maple Leafs, one against the aforementioned, now tied for first place, Buffalo Sabres. So we'll have a lot to cover on Monday's show. Until then, make sure you guys follow us on social media. We're Locked On Lightning, Instagram, TikTok, pretty much anywhere you scroll. You can also hit that subscribe button, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening in on your favorite podcast platform, to stay in the loop when we have new content for you. That's going to do it for us on today's Locked On Lightning. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. New episode coming at you tomorrow. We'll see you then.